Hello, everyone. Welcome to Talk with Bajaj podcast show. And this is our next podcast series. And today we have with us our special guest, Smita Das Jain. And she is wonderful speaker. So about Smita ji is executive coach, personal empowerment life coach, NLP practitioner. She is also worked as a leadership role in KPMG, United Technologies Corporation, JLL. She is also International Coaching Federation appreciated PCC coach and also done lot of one-on-one client coaching sessions, senior and CXO level professional. She has coached many people with executive level and other positions. She is also India's top 10 women entrepreneur. She is named along that and also one of the most famous TEDx speaker. She is also keynote speaker on different topics as well. And today we have Smita is very wonderful, inspiring lady too. I really inspire from her. And today we have with us Smita. Smita, you want to share with our audience about yourself?
Everything. I'm actually at a loss for words after that introduction. Just a little bit about my background before I became a coach with regards to coaching and my career after that. You have given a quick introduction. So I am a BCom honors graduate from SRCC and an MBA from Indian Institute of Management, Indore. Prior to that, I came from a defense background. So my upbringing has been all over the country, which has, right from a young age, which has made me connect with a lot of different people and sort of adopt a holistic outlook approach to everything because that's the way I've seen. After MBA, I worked in the corporate world for 14 years in the organizations that you mentioned. And then sometime in 2021, it was March or April, that I pivoted to pursue my calling, which is helping people get better at what they do. And now here I am as a coach. You mentioned I've done a lot of one-on-one coaching. In fact, I do mostly one-on-one coaching because my objective is to work deeply with people, which I believe comes largely when we work with people on a one-on-one basis. So I've been fortunate enough, like very recently, last month I crossed 1500 plus one-on-one client coaching hours, and I currently am working with leaders across 10 countries in the globe, so India and 9 other countries. So that's a bit about me from the professional side. From a personal side, I stay in Gurugram with my husband, and I have a 14-year-old daughter.
So it's very interesting to see like you are a mother as well as a professionally you are growing too. Wonderful. So like
Thank you.
managing everything.
I think we as women are experts at multitasking. I'm sure you are also managing a lot of things. Most of the women I have met, right, starting from my mother and mother-in-law, those around, and then the lovely clients that I'm working with, my friends, colleagues, everyone multitasks. Women more so than our male counterparts, I would say.
Yes, absolutely. So Smita, today's topic is very quite interesting. How to speak with confidence and communicate with impact. Like today, communication and speaking, public speaking is very common. Nowadays, everyone want to learn. So there are people who want to learn about this communication. Smita, why you think communication is important? And what is your niche as a coach? You know, what do you work with like that help people in this field?
Okay, so I'll take the first question first, which is about why communication is important, and I'll come to my niche because it goes beyond communication. So let me first speak about the topic. Shweta, I firmly believe that after a point, everyone is good at what they do. So when we start our careers, it's more about domain, it's more about, knowledge in that field. So if you are like 1 or 2 year old into a job, it's more about understanding that domain in depth. But after 5 years in the job, if you're doing the same role, so will be your counterpart who joined besides you along with you, right? So that's what I mean. After a point, we are all good at our work, and that is why we are progressing. it is your communication skills that makes a difference between your perception as a good performer or a great performer, or between a great performer and an excellent performer. So it's an indispensable skill, I would say. It is through communication that we express our ideas, needs, and aspirations with confidence and clarity. And especially since both of us are women here, so for women, for your women audience, I would like to add that in a world where we are still a great distance away from gender equality, it is strong communication skills that enable women to break barriers and be heard. Okay. So when people master this skill, master communication, they become formidable forces of influence, capable of driving change in their careers, communities, and beyond. It is communication that gives us the confidence to take our seats in the table, share our stories, and lead the way to a more inclusive and equitable world. And today, all said and done, irrespective of my niche and everything, it is largely due to my communication skills that I am sitting here in front of you to share my story with you and your followers, right? Had my communication not been effective, the messaging would have been lost. So that's about communication, why it's important. Without communication, you will have nothing to share, and whatever you are sharing, the impact may get lost. Now, coming to your second question about my niche as a coach. So, I work with mid career and senior professionals. When I say mid career, they should have worked at least for 7 years, either in present or sometime in the past. So, I also work with professionals who worked for some time, then taken break and looking to re enter the workforce again. So my clients range from salaried professionals in the corporate world. That's like a big niche for me, the demographic niche for me, to independent professionals like teachers, doctors, lawyers, freelancers, homemakers on a career break, entrepreneurs and solopreneurs, and then they go up to the founders, business owners, and C-level country heads like the CMOs, CFOs, CSOs, CEOs, to the directors and partners in big four firms. So broadly, if I say, my clients can be divided into two subsets. The first set is unhappy in their jobs and want to do something else without sometimes knowing what that something else is. So I enable them to tap into their passions and transform the same into profession so that they work because they want to and not because they have to. The second set is happy with their career field but find themselves stuck in the career ladder. And in 90% of these cases, the reasons for getting stuck is executive communication and presence. This is what I have discovered as a coach in the last 3 years since I have been coaching. So, with this set of clients, I empower them to speak with confidence and make an impact through my Empower Yourself coaching program. I also enable them in the process to get better at what they do by leading their teams more effectively or getting more out of their day and expressing themselves more effectively. So, as a coach, career progressions and career transitions, that is my niche. And for progressions, I have found communication as an important element. So far, I have been fortunate enough to work with close to 300 clients across 10 countries in the globe on a one on one basis. I work with both males and females. So 100 of those 300, 100 out of those 300 clients would be women, and the rest would be men. So yeah, that is about my niche and forte as a coach.
Wonderful. Like you are guiding everyone to stay ahead in their career as well as to communicate in better manner, in a better way. So, Smita, another question is like communication, as you mentioned, is very essential skill. Everyone must know how to communicate. The next question arises how to communicate properly with clarity, to bring impact. And there are some common challenges people are facing nowadays in their corporate lives, even women or even male. So, how you can suggest as a coach to those people who are facing these career roadblocks, communication roadblocks in their career?
Hmm. So I'll first talk a bit about the challenges and then talk about how people can overcome them. So mostly in my experience as a coach, and I've also been on the other side before that, so I know what goes on in workplaces. So the most common barriers that people face, it is like speaking up in official meetings, more in groups. I mean, some may have challenges one-on-one basis also, but it is when when they have to speak up in groups, and the feeling is everyone eyes is on us. How do we communicate effectively? People also face challenges in carrying conversations in informal gatherings. Those water cooler conversations, as we say that, it's very vital to forge rapport at workplace. Third, and this is very, very common, being more structured and concise in conveying their point of view. So, we are living in the world of short attention span. How do we convey our message in the least possible words and yet be comprehensive? That's a very pervasive challenge. Fourth, negotiating, and especially if you're a team leader, giving constructive feedback. So, even leaders at the top sometimes they blanch at giving constructive feedback. How do we give feedback in a way where we come across as assertive without being aggressive? Fifth, and this is something everyone can identify with, excelling in interviews. For some reason, everyone dreads them despite knowing their subject well. So how to communicate there? And last but not the least, there is this fear of the big stage. So people, even if they're otherwise good speakers, they're terrified of public speaking. uh, and here also I would say women would be more terrified compared to their male counterparts, again going by my experience. So these are some common barriers that I have seen some of my clients who come to me to improve their communication have. Now, how to become an effective communicator? Okay, so this is what I do in my coaching session. So it will be a whole long journey because it takes time. But my quick tip, Shweta, here is the number one reason for us or for us to perceive that we are not good in communication is our mindset. So there are these set of limiting beliefs which people have. Some of the common limiting beliefs, especially with my Indian clients that I have seen. Oh, I have studied in Hindi medium schools or regional medium schools. My English is not that good. So if I speak in English, which is the workplace language in business communication, I will make a fool of myself. And so they don't express. Number two, okay, everyone is a good speaker. I am not that good a speaker, so people will be judging me. So the first thing we all need to do is to let go of our limiting beliefs. It is our mindset that stops us. The barrier is more in perception, and the facts on the ground is totally different. So, the moment we change these limiting beliefs to empowering beliefs, for example, I am not good in English, can simply be I may need to rehearse a bit more when it comes to English business communication, and after rehearsal, I can speak as fluently as anyone. So that is a more realistic, empowering belief rather than thinking that, okay, my English is not good. So, overcoming or rather reframing these limiting beliefs to empowering beliefs. Once we believe we are good, we will automatically become good. Second, there is this unfamiliarity. So we have to become familiar with the environment. So most of the time, when people say they're afraid of speaking up in groups, it is because they are not taking many opportunities to speak in groups. So, if in your regular day to day work, you are meeting people only one on one, and suddenly once a month you have to talk in this important meeting where where different people all across the departments are there. Of course, there will be more nervousness, which will make you lose impact in your communication because that occasion is unfamiliar. right? So you have to start small, get familiar with those occasions. It can be simply like, at your workplace, or maybe even at home when there is a gathering, informal gathering. There is a birthday celebration, somebody leaving at work. So you normally have those farewells and all. So best to speak up on those informal occasions where there is less pressure, even if there are many eyes looking at you, but you don't have pressure of delivering content, so you can just focus on getting used to the occasion. The more familiar you get with the situation, the better you will get at expressing yourself, because you will focus only on your content and not also on this and not on the situation around you. And the third bit, there are certain effective rules. I mean, I spoke about being structured and concise. It's very well to say that one needs to be brief in communicating their messages. But how do messages become brief? How can we be structured? There are certain very, very specific rules which any good communication coach would be able to help you with. So for that, people have to come and work with me, and then during the journey, once they understand what these rules are and start applying them, then right from day one, when you apply and you apply these things consistently, within 2 3 weeks you see a change, you see the impact. That's what my clients are seeing. So these are just some of the quick three tips that I shared, which will help people to improve their communication skills.
Absolutely, like concise and the communication, whatever you are communicating, it must be easy to understand. Wonderful tips you have shared, Smita. So, like women nowadays want to open up, as you mentioned, in formal events or informal events. You must start small, and sometimes they are not open up easily. They are facing some challenges. Majorly, if we women, they are not able to open up, speak up their mind, whatever they have in their mind. So, Smita, I want to know from you, like any challenges you have faced for your career and how you tackle those challenges, and like you are now speaker. So, any family, you also a mom, so family support and everything is there, right? So, you can share your journey along with that.
So, Shweta, I think each one of us does face challenges as some part of their life. Show me one person who says that I have not faced any challenges, and I think I can show you a liar or a person who is not being completely honest. So, there have been quite a few challenges, honestly, but since we are speaking on the topic of communication, let me share some of my challenges that I faced in the communication part. So, I spoke about some of these limiting beliefs as an answer to your previous question. So, I, at some point, and this is like well before I even started working, right from when I think I was in high school, I had this feeling that I'm not good in communication. Okay. So even though I studied in English medium schools, but I told you my father was in the defense, so he used to shift from place to place every 2 to 3 years. So those schools were in small cities. So even if the textbooks were in English, it was Hindi that was mostly used in communication. And then suddenly in college, when I came to Delhi, it was like most people around me were speaking English very, very fluently, and I was not used to that. And I didn't even try. Without even trying, I was this quiet girl sitting in a corner, knowing the subject well. But at one point during my first year in college, I remember I was inhibited even while asking questions from my lecturers because I thought I will be making a fool of myself when I speak in English. That feeling carried forward, like from high school, even though I was a good student, and you have to be a good student to enter SRCC. And English was one of my favorite subjects, incidentally, but I was always more comfortable in written English rather than spoken English. And then I carried that feeling till to my post graduation in IIM Indore, that I am someone who is not a good speaker for whatever reasons. And after that, when I started working in the corporate world, it was a very by that time the feeling was so inherent And it was almost second nature. I didn't even think twice. Okay, speaking has to be done. I'm not a good speaker. So I was someone, and because I couldn't express myself, or rather, I didn't express myself with this limiting belief that I'm not a good speaker, I didn't used to contribute, even when I knew the answers, even when I had ideas. And that at the initial stage of my career, I would say there was an impact in getting visibility. Fortunately, at the initial stage, communication does not play that big a role. If you're good in your domain, you can still work around this handicap, which is what happened with me. It was really when I was like fourth or fifth year into my job. There was some discussion going on, and I asked someone, okay, what do you think are my strengths as a professional? And to my surprise, most of the people around me said, you are very good in communication. And that was really an eye opener, because here was someone who didn't believe herself to be good in communication, and getting a feedback from colleagues around you, and it has to be honest, because they had no reasons to be dishonest. It was not that as if they're good friends, it was just like a simple honest to honest feedback exercise. So that was an eye opener, and I'm like, okay, if five people are saying I'm good in communication, there must be something about it. And imagine how much time have I wasted only in my head thinking that I'm not good in communication. Maybe my progress could have been faster. So that is one example. Okay, this I would not say actual barriers, but my own mindset barriers, which stopped me from moving ahead. Then after that, you said I was a speaker, and now, of course, like I'm very comfortable with speaking. But as early or as late till 2018, I was terrified of stepping onto the big stage. So I was into strategy and consulting. So I used to give presentations to senior leaders right at the start of my career. But within closed rooms, I was fine. But when it came to, presenting in those industry conferences, going on the stage where there are 100 plus people looking at you straight, I'm like, okay, I can't do that. And within my organization, I got a lot of opportunities. Until 2018, I was saying no. With that belief that I will mess up, that I will forget something on stage, that I can't be a good public speaker. I really have to thank my boss and mentor at that stage. I'm talking about 2018. So he noticed the pattern that was happening. Every time he used to ask me to do a public speaking, I used to make some or the other excuse. So he nominated me for an event without asking me. And then he said, I have nominated, so you have to travel. And it was like in Mumbai, so outside the city of Gurugram. So you have to travel. It is an important event. It was, and you have to. I was representing my organization, and the domain, of course, was something that I worked in. It was sports. So at that time, I was, as a part of being a consultant, that was one of the industries I used to look after. So it's an important conference. You have to go. You have to make a speech for 30 minutes. There will be 200 plus people in the room, and I was like terrified. I'm like, what have you done? He's like, no, nothing doing. You are going. I can't take back the name. So for 3 days, I remember I sat thinking of what excuse I could give him to pull myself out of the event. And then I realized I just can't lie. There is nothing, so I have to do it. So might as well if I have to do it. So it was like 15 days to the event. Uh, and my work was very hectic. After I used to come home, each waking hour went into practicing that speech. So the PPT was made much before, and content I was absolutely confident about. It is more about talking on the stage. So I must have practiced multiple times in those 15 days. I remember one day before the event. So I was in Mumbai hotel, and the event was next day, and I was so terrified I could not sleep. So instead of tossing and turning, I was like, okay, I will get nervous, so let me just practice my speech. And I don't know how many times I would have practiced, but I practiced it like the back of my hand. So for a 30-minute presentation, I don't know how many hours I would have practiced, definitely 50 plus hours in those 50 days. And then I stood on the stage. When I began my speech, my legs were shaking, and but I somehow began, and because I had practiced so much, word by word, so it started coming naturally. So even if I was nervous, because I knew the content so well after practicing, it sort of flew. And after the first 3-4 minutes, my leg shaking stopped automatically. I was more focused on the content and delivery and making eye contact. And then 30 minutes over, and then, there was like applause in the room. So I'm like, I was more relieved than happy. Okay, done. I didn't forget anything. It went well. So after that, I went to the speaker's room and just had a cup of coffee. The anchor of the event came and spoke to me. He was an Australian, so a native English speaker. So he complimented me on my speech, and he was like, "It seems that you are a natural speaker. That speech came up so fluently, and you spoke so well. You must be a pro at public speaking." I'm like, "Really? You know what? This is the first time I am standing and speaking on the big stage." And he was like, "Oh, is it?" He genuinely looked surprised, but he's like, "You looked like such a natural on stage." And that, in terms of public speaking, was my biggest lesson to date, that it takes a lot of effort to appear natural on stage. So that is the thing. So again, my own barrier, and thanks to my mentor at that point of time, who didn't listen to me and gave my name. But after that, I knew, okay, the key to being a good speaker: practice, practice, practice so much that you appear natural. And after that, I started taking these assignments voluntarily. Today, I don't practice as much. Some speeches I don't practice at all. But yeah, this is how it began. So you asked me about my journey. This is a very, very true story. So the person you are looking at, who is a 2x TEDx speaker, who speaks so much uh, at gatherings and conferences, this was the genesis, how it began, the actual challenge, and how I overcame that to be here today speaking with you on this subject.
Wonderful and incredible indeed. Like inspiring, I can say, like people behind, like mentors. Those people, I'm really grateful to them. Like they bring up you to the show, and you are such a great speaker, definitely. So,
Thank you. Thank you so much, Shweta.
like I'm really indeed very, very inspired from you and your journey. Till now, you have shared your journey, how being like shy and practice, practice, practice. This is the key to become a very good, great communicator. And the clarity of speech you have and the confidence now I'm seeing in you, like before Smita and after Smita is totally different. I can say that.
That is how it happens, Shweta. So the more you practice, so when you are not speaking, let's say on the big stage, it's an unfamiliar territory. When you speak a lot, I mean, when you get a lot of occasions to speak, it becomes familiar territory. And when something becomes familiar, you automatically become confident. So that's the key.
Yeah, absolutely. So my one more question here is like you have speak on different very big platforms like CNBC or TEDx. So before talking or speaking on these platforms and after speaking on these platforms, because these platforms have very good speakers. So what difference you have seen in yourself? So before you also practice on before speaking on these such platforms. So how you step up?
Okay, so every stage is different. So after 2018, as I shared my story with you, I've been doing public speaking a lot. But the first TEDx talk that I gave in 2022, it was a different platform altogether. It's not interactive. It's more about the speaker doing the talk, and it's a TED platform. So again, very overwhelming. So I was nervous, maybe not as nervous as I was back in 2018, but being a TED occasion, I was nervous. Again, for a platform like TED, you really have to know your script to the T. It's best that you don't leave anything to spontaneity. I mean, it's not even possible, because as part of TED rules, you have to submit your speech to the organizers. The reason being TED, they would like to make sure that the ideas are original and it's something worth coming up in TED. So it's one of the requirements. So because of that, anyway, you have to write your script for the to the T. It's best that you practice and rehearse it as much as possible, because otherwise, given the enormity of the occasion, you tend to forget. So again, my first TEDx talk, I practiced a lot, really a lot, because I knew, given the awe factor that I was feeling stepping up on the TED stage, there is chances that if I don't practice beyond what I think is required, I may forget something. So that was during my first TEDx talk. The second TEDx talk that I gave in 2023 marked difference because the occasion had become familiar. So no, I was not as nervous. I didn't practice as much. There was a script this time because it was a TEDx youth event. So the organizers asked for points and not like script to the T. So that is what I prepared, points and some of the things, but I was much more relaxed. Legs were not shaking, and I was very sure that it will go well. So the difference is confidence as the occasion becomes familiar. So both were TEDx talks, both were equally important. In fact, the second TEDx talk, the room was bigger, so the audience was more than the first TEDx talk. But because it was my second one, the nervousness was less, which led to high confidence. And that helps. It really helps if you have a good night's sleep before the talk, which happens. Similarly, you talk about those TV channels. So between CNBC Awaaz and Z Business, I think I must have come on TV 5 to 6 times now. And nowadays, in fact, I realize I'm saying no more times for TV appearances than saying yes. So the first time, again, unfamiliar occasion. I knew the topic, but of course, you never know what questions the anchor is going to ask. And again, because the occasion was new, you also care a lot about those non-verbal aspects, like the appearance, the way you look. It's not only you should. It's not important not only to be confident, but you also have to appear confident because it's a TV appearance after all. So I paid extra attention to the content because I didn't know what questions would come. And it was like, it's not that if it's a 20-minute segment, I was the only speaker, right? There were three panelists. So you also had to be concise and structured. So I really spent a lot of time looking up at the topic, Googling some questions that I thought. And after that, there was this Chat GPT. I think by the time of my first TV appearance, Chat GPT was there. So I asked a lot of questions to Chat GPT. What possible questions could someone ask on this particular topic? So Chat GPT gave me some questions, and I asked Chat GPT to give me bullet points for the answers. So for that 20-minute TV appearance, I think I would have spent at least 3-4 hours preparing. I could have spent more, but I was having coaching sessions. So 3-4 hours, not at a stretch, but in between coaching sessions. And for TV appearances, it's not that you get advance notice. So if a program is in the evening, they will call you sometime at 10-11 a.m. in the morning. There's an evening show. Can you come? If it's in the morning, they will call you the prior evening. So there's not much time that you get also much advance notice. And so there was a lot of preparation. But again, the difference between then and now, again, the occasion has become familiar. So more confidence now. In fact, for a couple of my TV appearances, I just looked at the topic, and if, if the topic was slightly unfamiliar, which it typically is not, because I'm very particular about the topic that I appear in. I just quickly asked Google about some statistics because numbers give me confidence. So nowadays, now that's my modus operandi. Any topic, look up some statistics. Whatever is important, numbers, write them down because you tend to remember it better when you write something. And for my last TV appearance, which I think happened in May, I don't think I would have spent more than 15, maybe even less, 10 minutes of time preparing, because that day was very busy with coaching sessions. So whatever little time I got, I just looked up some statistics and went there and spoke whatever the anchor asked. But the confidence is much more. So that's the difference. First time TV appearance. Oh, I am appearing on TV. It's a big deal. I don't want to make a fool of myself, even though like I was one coaching others on communication. But the thoughts come when you are going for a new occasion. Now after multiple appearances, these thoughts do not come anymore, because I have appeared, I have done well, and it's going fine. And of course, the channels also keep on calling me again and again. So if they are calling me again, they must be finding me a good speaker. So that itself is a confidence boost. So more confidence. That's the key difference, Shweta.
Amazing. Like I can see before and after you have shared like platform when we are so frequent on that platform, we're comfortable, confidence boost up. So Smita, like as you mentioned, we have to rehearse, we have to practice, and we have some script to write and to rehearse. Sometimes we forget, like we forget, oh, I'm not able to remember what script I have given, and what I'm speaking is totally different, or maybe little bit different. So, how you tackle this kind of challenge? Like these kinds of challenge maybe happen to you as well.
Oh, it happens more often than you think, Shweta. It, in fact, because see, at the end of day, at least so far, we are not actors. Like in films and television, one really has to go as per the script, because that's the nature. But when you're giving a speech, you are not actors. The script is more for your own reference, so you become comfortable with the subject. And even if you forget, because there is a script, you tend to remember something. But if you forget, always remember only you know what script you have prepared. So nobody else is preparing the script for you, which is again the difference between actors and people who give speeches, right? We
Hmm.
write our speeches ourselves. For actors, it's given to them by the script writers. Now when you write your own script, nobody else knows what's the, what is it that you have written. So my mantra simply is, okay, you are speaking something, you have forgotten, slow down your speech, because if you speak fast, your mind tends to get more nervous. When you slow down, you will get more time to think. Smile, make an eye contact with someone. If it's an interactive forum like a platform won't, but if you're giving a speech in a corporate forum and all, or any like interactive format like we are having it here,
Right.
I can always stop my speech and ask you some questions. By the way, Shweta, what do you think about it? Right? So that gives you a breather. There are a lot of techniques. So see if you can make it interactive. Or if nothing else, let's say you're talking in a format where it's one too many. So you can't really ask questions from the audience. What you can do is smile and let's say, I mean, it's A to Z. Only you know it's A to Z because you have written it that way. So after A, B, C, if you forget D, E, F, and straight away go to G, but you keep on smiling and keep on appearing as confident, the audience won't even know that you've forgotten D, E, F, right? And then you can come back to D, E, F later at some point. If you remember, if you don't remember, you can skip it also. It's not a big deal. It's much more about the appearance. So the audience will never know you have forgotten until you pause and you appear nervous. It is you who make them realize that something is wrong. If you don't make them realize, they won't know. So another thing that I find to be of great help is carrying those cue cards. So I am not into the habit of carrying these large papers, but small, these 4 by 4 or 8 by 8 cue cards where points are written. So it's very handy. You can carry it in one hand, you can flip them. For every speech I carry, I don't refer to them most of the time, but it gives me the comfort that even if I forget something, the point is right there. And in fact, it appears, what do I say, it adds grace and poise to your appearance as a speaker. So even if you forget something, you have this comfort factor. Hey, the point is right there. You look down, and then within a second you see what's the point. You look up and start speaking again. So in I carry these cue cards always. 80% of the times I don't refer to them, but the comfort that it gives me, that hey, even if I forget something, the point is right here, uh, that adds to my confidence as a speaker. So, three tips here: make it interactive, ask the other party a question if you forget something. Second, smile and carry on. Don't let the audience know that you have forgotten something. And third, carry cue cards with you, which you can always refer to, even if you forget something.
Amazing. And it's really very helpful to me as well. And I think everyone who is listening get benefited out of this talk. Absolutely. So, Smita, like these are the tips that we can communicate in proper manner. Now, clarity, sometimes what happen, we have to bring the clarity to the stage. We have to bring the impact to the stage. How we can know like the people, the impact is, passing on. We are giving our best, we are speaking, we talk our talk and then leave the stage. But what about the impact? What about the thing? It is delivered properly or not? Like how you, you understand these things, analyze these things.
Hmm. How to communicate with impact? Okay, this is what I coach clients on. Again, something that is very difficult to encapsulate in this podcast format in a short amount of time that we have. See, but to answer your question, Shweta, impact comes from you. It does not come from the content. Okay. So, number one, your appearance has to make an impact first. Like, honestly, like today, why I'm having this session with you today, because Wednesday is the only day of the week I don't keep coaching sessions. That is the only off I have. The rest of the 6 days I work. So today, since I didn't had coaching sessions before this session started, I was wearing something quite different. My hair was not as combed. Okay. Because there was no formal sessions, I was not appearing as groomed. Then I knew that this session was happening. I made it a point to go and change and to groom myself in a certain way. The reason is I know I won't feel nice if I don't appear nice, right? It's not out of vanity or anything. My appearance is a big part of my confidence. So if you turn up not well groomed, not dressing properly, appearing as if you straight away sleepwalked from the bed to the venue, you're not going to make an impact, right? So that is the first thing, your appearance. You need to appear impactful in order to make that impact. Second, smile. So I may be delivering the same message that I've been delivering all throughout to you, Shweta. But if I was keeping a poker face and speaking seriously, can you see the difference in my energy levels now when I'm not smiling and answering the same thing? It really does make a difference. So even if you don't know the subject, but you smile, people get the impression, oh, that person is smiling while standing on the stage. She must be very confident, even if you are not. Okay. So smile adds to the impact. Third, what is the key point? So today we are discussing about communication, and I also, have other areas where I coach in. But let's say you are, the topic is communication, and I'm going on and on how you transition successfully in your career. Okay, even that is an important topic, but is it really to the point? Then I will appear all over the place. One moment I'm talking about communication, second moment I'm talking about career transition, third moment I'm talking about something else. So instead of having 10 points and not having time to finish all, best is have 3 to 4 points where you can go more in depth and stick to the topic. There may be 10 other things but normally formal occasion will be on a certain topic. So the more you stick to the topic, the more you come to it soon, the more impactful your speech is going to be.
Oh my God, like it's a really, I can say, $1 billion advice. Like stick to the topic and formal, formal occasions or informal, like how to speak in a proper manner with clarity and how impact bring up to the table. Amazing. So thank you, Smita. And like I want to know from you now, like as you mentioned, you are coaching in different segments, different areas, women as well as other executives. So what are the different areas you are coaching and how people can get in contact with you so that if someone want to contact you and get coaching session from you, so yeah, you can tell.
So there are 5 areas I coach in. One is executive communication and presence, which is what we have been talking about. This also includes right from expressing yourself in meetings, it also goes up to occasions like how to network more effectively or overcome your fear of the big stage or presentation. That's one. Second is successful career transitions. Now, when I say career transitions, it can be job transition, it can be changing industry, it can be making a transition from an employee to an entrepreneur or vice versa. So successful transition, like that is what I did 3 years ago when I pivoted to become a coach and an entrepreneur from the corporate world. That's second. The third is time management. So how to get more out of your day, and everyone is challenged when it comes to time. We all have so many things to do and so little time. So that is again one of the areas for which people come to me. The fourth is leading your teams more effectively. So here these are largely either like independent business owners having medium to large size teams, or people in the corporate world who are team leads. They can be at the middle level, they can be at the senior level. I'm even coaching some C level and promoters here in this field. So how to lead more effectively, and that goes, I mean, communication is one very important aspect there, but it goes beyond communication. There are certain things that make up a good leader. So what is that, and how can you delegate better and focus more on the strategic aspects? That also is included in leadership. And the last bit, especially when it comes to top level management or senior people or those independent professionals who are doing well, it may not be like one of these four areas that I mentioned, but sometimes they need a sounding board. They're like, okay, we are at the top and it's very lonely at the top, and I can vouch for it. So they want someone who would be non-judgmental, who would be independent, who would be honest with them, with whom they can discuss the challenges they face in their job or in their business, and are sure of getting an independent, non-judgmental, implementable advice. So here there is no goal, but we meet like, every 15 days or sometimes even once a month to discuss whatever professional challenge the person may be facing at that point in time. So most of my clients also transition here. So when they initially come to work with me, they have a specific goal. Let's say like improving your communication skill. But by the time they work with me for 6, 7 months, it's like the goals are achieved anyway. But so the sessions more are more like, okay, I want to brainstorm whatever I may be facing at that particular point in time. Or sometimes even directly, like most of the people at the C level, when they come to work with me, even from the first time, I have seen this is the ask, that we want someone who we can trust and who can advise us honestly. So these are the 5 areas, Shweta. How people can get in touch with me? So I'm very active on LinkedIn. They can DM me on my LinkedIn handle, Smita Das Jain. They can also book a strategy session through my website. So my website is www.lifecoachsmitadijain.com/booking. So Friday is the day where I take the strategy session. So whatever slots are available, it is always updated on my booking calendar there. So that is the best way. They book a slot and they spend 1 hour with me on a Friday as per the slot available, and then we see if we are a good fit from from that particular discussion. Then they can decide if they see me as a good fit to help them in their professional journey.
Wonderful. So yes, everyone who is watching, definitely reach out to you, because these are the areas which everyone need majorly. And if someone, a coach or mentor like you, who can guide them in the right direction, right path, it's a really good deal for them as well. So thank you so much, Smita, for answering such wonderful questions on this communication and how communication brings impact, and how you are bringing impact in today's society, in today's world, by your wonderful communication, by being a public speaker and keynote speaker. So thank you so much. And at last, we want to share some tip or any one line for the audience.
Believe before you start doing something. So if you're afraid of something and you want to be somewhere, first start believing that you are already there. and then you will see the universe will respond back to you and things will fall into space, so into place. So it's not that you do something and you start believing. You have to believe something first, and then it automatically starts happening. Like till the point, I gave you my story. So till the point I was believing I was not a good speaker in my head, and so in real life I was not a good speaker. The moment I got the feedback and then I started believing, oh, I am a good communicator, and then suddenly I became a good speaker and communicator. So the belief needs to come first. That is all I would like to say. And thank you so much, Shweta, for thinking about inviting me to this wonderful podcast of yours. I always like chatting up and meeting up new people, especially if they are from the same field as me. And it was lovely chatting with you. Thank you for having me here as a guest on your podcast.
Thank you so much, Smita, and thank you everyone for watching this podcast show. And we are coming up with these kinds of podcast show with next episode. And thank you, Smita, as well. And we really appreciate your presence. We are so grateful for that. Thank you.